All right, good morning, everyone. You got the Aired Out podcast, Fly on the Wall Productions, North Main Street in Barrie. God, it feels weird to say that, Raylene. North Main Street, Barrie.
I know. We got used to saying from the, what did we call it? The bunker.
The underground bunker?
Yeah, the underground bunker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A little bit different here on Main Street.
It feels great. It's just so...
It does.
It's so nice to be back here. It really is.
I love it.
It is the first day of spring, at least on the vernal equinox or whatever the hell they call it. At least it is on the calendar, but not feeling like it.
No, definitely not.
What do we have for a temperature right now?
Very chilly.
Do we even know? It's, let's see. I'll tell you in a second. I know we're supposed to get up to like 32 degrees today. Whoop-de-doo. 25 degrees right now. Some clouds, some sun.
But it's sunny.
Yeah. Mix of both. Tonight, 27. Tomorrow, 41. That's not bad.
No.
Some rain and some snow showers both in the mix here over the, I don't know.
We need the mix
We do.
for the sap to run.
We do. And it's going to be running. And I think it was Roger Hill It was Roger Hill this morning that was saying that with these temperatures being what they are, that the sap maple season
should be a good one.
It's going to be not only a good one, but it's going to run a little longer than...
Which they were worried it wasn't.
That's exactly right.
So,
we're
lucky.
I'm so glad that that's going to be good.
Absolutely. You know it's Tuesday, right?
It is Tuesday.
And so you know I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
And if you didn't bring it this week, then I'm just deciding that you're just chicken to match up with me. But do you have your stepladder?
I didn't bring my...
You didn't bring it again. You're chicken.
What?
Because it's Connect 4, giant Connect 4 night at Jerry's.
You see the abuse I get? God.
For God's sakes.
Yeah, that's
I've been
right.
telling you for weeks to bring it, but every week you got a different excuse. But get on out there tonight to Jerry's. Giant Connect 4. Open tournament tonight. Anybody can join in. If you don't want to play Connect 4, play a couple games of pool. Why not? Some munchies, beer, one of your favorite drinks.
Yeah, sure.
Anything like that. Just get out, relax, have some fun with your friends and your neighbors.
Yeah, after work or whatever.
Absolutely. It's a great place.
I said last Tuesday, and I'll say it again, if Lily were to be allowed to get into Jerry's, she'd probably destroy everyone because she knows how to play some serious
but apparently
Connect
you
4.
don't because you're chicken to bring in your little step stool.
One of these days I'll do it. I promise
come
you.
on.
Hey, Mark McCarthy's getting honored this morning. As a matter of fact, right now, over at the Elks Lodge. They've got their, when I say they, the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce has their annual St. Patrick's Day breakfast. They've been doing this for a gazillion years. I think it's like, 7 years, 8 years, something like that?
Yeah.
Nice tradition.
Getting honored and roasted.
And
yes. roasted. We can't forget the roasted part.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's going to be great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. We'd probably be there right now if we weren't on the air. I was like, why are you guys doing this at 8:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning?
Because that's breakfast time, JD.
Hey, we got to mention that tomorrow is Ladies' Day over at Quick Lube.
Yes, it is.
Ladies get a free car wash and a flower.
And lubed up.
Yep. And speaking of Quick Lube, what's going on with Matt Kelly?
Well, he drives at Thunder Road every year. He races a car, and last year and this year too, he'll be lettering up his car with Air It Out. So we'll have two cars on the track this year. We'll have Bill Donahue, and we will have Matt Kelly. So we'll have two aired out cars, two different divisions.
Can't wait.
On the track. We're super excited about that. And before we get into things, we cannot forget to mention that tonight is a city council meeting. So they were going every other week, sometimes every 3 weeks. And last week, Councillor Lozon said enough is enough. We've got a lot to do. We're going to buckle down. I will be here. If you want to join me, you join me. But I'm done with this crap, and I will be here. So 6:00 tonight, and I know that Michael Daring and Michael Booten are both joining him I don't know who else will be there, but welcome the community to come as well, via Zoom or in person. We all know there's housing issues, big time. We need to rebuild from the flood, all kinds of stuff going on, and just the work's not getting done with meeting twice or sometimes even once a month. And so he put his foot down last week and said, I don't care who else is going to be here, but I'll be here Tuesday at 6. Join me if you want to.
Yeah.
And
will we put the Zoom link up on the AirDot page?
Absolutely. Yes, right. We will.
Dumb question, I know. Mm-hmm. Also, I remember Tom Lozon right after the flood saying, look, this is going to take years to recover from. And I remember...
But it doesn't mean we need to drag our feet for years before we start recovering.
Well, amen to that. Absolutely. And
that's his point.
I just remember thinking, I didn't say anything to the mic, but I remember thinking when he said that, Tom, really? Is that, are you maybe overreacting a little bit?
You don't build things in a day.
And I'm like, here we are, not even a year later.
Almost.
And I'm like, man, he was spot on. This is going to take a long time. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Vermont politics on a real small local level and over at the State House, where I think many things are being overcomplicated.
Yes.
Overthought. There's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
A lot of ideas going around. And, there was a guy, John Biondolillo is with us this morning, and from William Ravies, BCK Real Estate. And, John, I saw, first of all, good morning to you, man.
Good morning.
I'm so glad you're here. I saw yesterday on somewhere on social media, I think it was on Facebook, that some guy up in, I think it was British Columbia, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Seattle, somewhere in those parts. This guy, this millionaire, was like, screw it. I'm going to take a couple of $1 million and I'm going to build a whole gazillion tiny houses and just put them everywhere. He basically filled the whole city outline with tiny houses for all of the folks that just couldn't afford housing. And he's trying to take care of the problem that way. What do you think about this whole tiny house? I got a lot of questions for you this morning, brother. But what do you think about all this tiny house craze movement that's been going on for a couple of years now? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, there's certain place for it. I think particularly, here in the city, we've got a lot of undeveloped lots that are pretty small that, something like that might be a good solution.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I know that there's a lot of us that have a lot of ideas about how to start chipping away at our issues here. But, man, we love you guys over at William Ravis and BCK Real Estate. You guys have been supporting us and sponsoring us for a long, long time. What we do here, making it possible for us to do this, and kudos to you and your team. We appreciate you, and we love you guys.
Well, thank you. You guys are great. You do a great service for the community, and despite what some of the naysayers said, I loved it when you were on your kayak during the flood going around. You were the only person that had live reports on what was happening.
You should have heard the voicemails that were coming in on my cell phone from the lady sitting next to you. Did you get your hepatitis C shot? What's the matter with you? God, do you have any scratches on your legs? I mean, it was...
Well, no, I mean, that was an awful night. I remember, at about, I came down the Barry Montpelier Road about 20 after 4, and it was starting to wash out, and I got to the office, and I'm like, you guys, we got to get out of here. We got to go.
Yeah.
And, then we lost internet, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock, so I couldn't really see any of our security cameras to kind of see is the water coming in, or so you were out there. It was great. We were my wife Marcia and I were watching you, and just taking
what
it
a
all
fool.
in.
Were you thinking this guy's friggin' crazy?
No, I've known him for years. He was being JD.
You knew. Yeah, you knew.
Hey, I'm still alive. But boy, that water didn't smell good. I'll tell you that right now. So, man, it's like every time I walk into William Ravis, you guys are so relaxed over there. You're happy. Just a good bunch of people. It's walk in there and it's like, hey, hi, how are you? What can I sell you a house? You guys are just so chill and knowledgeable and friendly, and I love that about you. Approachable.
Thank you. Been on Main Street for a long time.
How long?
Well, BCK started in 1981, and we were across the street from where we are now. And in 2006, we decided to move, and I really agonized over it because it had been there so long. And we literally moved right across the street. So I figured by the time somebody was trying to figure out where we were and they were scratching their head and they turned around, they'd see us. So yeah, we've been on Main Street in that area and one side or the other since 1981.
81. Wow.
Wow.
What's your before we start shining the spotlight on your incredible team over there? What's kind of your history, man? You've been a coach. You've been so involved in the community. You've done like everything, man. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my wife Marcia grew up here, so we've got deep roots here in the community. I'm a Flatlander, so I moved here in 95. We moved here when our son was on the way. So we raised our kids here. It's been great, and we bought BCK real estate from Claire and David Duke back in 2000, and Claire just passed away, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say what a tremendous loss that is. And she was the number one realtor for years in Central Vermont, and frankly, she had forgotten more than most agents ever knew. I learned a lot from her. I loved working side by side with her. She was very particular and precise, and some people would say demanding, but in the business we're in with contracts and everything, you need to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and Claire was unparalleled at that. So I was sad to see that she passed away. She had a great long career, not just in real estate, but she did a lot for the community. I mean, back when I think they called it Good Morning Barry. They had all kinds of stuff that she did along with others in the community to help get the elementary school going, among many other things. So she was, a lot of people, because they haven't been around here long enough or aren't old enough, frankly, to remember her. You lose sight of some of the things that these people have done, and we're all standing on the shoulders of people that came before us, and she was a great one.
Glenn Brummert is commenting right now, saying we got here in '96, bought our house from Claire as well, and John coached my grandson. So
yeah, I coached for a lot of years, basketball and soccer and baseball. So yeah, I miss those. I tell you, my daughter played a lot of high school sports, and sometimes when I drive by the school and I look at the field, I get a little melancholy thinking about that.
Yep. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Your team over there, and let's be honest here. It starts with the most important team member, which would of course be Marcia, your wife. Great lady. And you guys have had a couple of bumps in the road over the last, couple of years now?
Yeah,
with some health
year.
issues?
She's had some health issues, and I'm happy to say that she's gotten through them, and she's really doing well. She's back at work full time, so don't cut her any slack. Come put her to work.
Wow. Wow.
She probably doesn't cut you any slack either, though.
No,
she cracks the whip.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great lady. I love chatting with her. And I don't chat with her often enough, but it's not just Marcia. It's Michael, it's Cheryl, David, Diana, Butch, Linda, and Tammy, and of course, Michelle.
Right.
And man, Michelle just kicks it. She is just. We're a little partial to Michelle. Not necessarily more than you. I'm just saying, we love her. She is a great lady.
She has a unique perspective because she knows the real estate end of it, but she also was a business owner. Mm-hmm. And she owned a store, so she's used to dealing with the public. And, that's half the business, really, is this understanding people and the psychology and what their needs are and helping them buy or sell a home.
We're gonna talk about a couple of your listings this morning, a few listings, but the last couple of times that we've been in there and chatted with you and Michelle, we've learned that, quite frankly, the picking is slim right now. It is everywhere. What do you have for listings in Barre City, Barrytown?
Well, if you look in the MLS, there's 10 houses actively for sale in Barre City and Barrytown combined. And the reality is that, one of them is a house to be built. And frankly, some of them are a little pricey. We're seeing, the market's been really strong for sellers. We're seeing some people get a little greedy, or sometimes you get bad advice. We're seeing, we're being very honest here. We're seeing the risk of sounding self-serving. We're seeing, a bunch of agents coming in from out of the area because they're desperate for business, and they're overpricing homes, and that's how they're getting their listings. And the problem with that is, in this market, especially when a house has been sitting on the market for 3 months, people start to assume something's wrong with it, that it didn't move. Mm-hmm. And or we're also seeing sometimes they come in, they don't know the market, they underprice. And so that, the seller doesn't really know any differently necessarily because, oh my gosh, they sold my house in 2 days. Well, yeah, but you left $25,000 on the table. So that's a pitfall of not having somebody with local ties and roots and knowledge of the market.
Wow. Well said. Mm-hmm. You said the G word, greed. I mean, that's interesting. I mean,
because ultimately you can suggest a price, your realtor can go in, but ultimately you list it at whatever the seller wants to list, and they're your customer, right? I mean, you can try to encourage, but do sometimes you just say, we really can't do that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's always the seller's decision what they're going to price for. And and over the years, Marcia and I and our agents, we've had situations where we've walked away. I'd rather part friends now than have you mad at me in 6 months because your house didn't sell.
Right.
And that's kind of how we operate, because we're going to eat whether we get the next listing or not. I like to get them, but it doesn't do me or the seller any good for me to tell them some number they want to hear and put it on the market and have it sit there and have people assume something's wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've heard from at least one friend that, God, have you seen this house? It's been sitting there for a long time. You're probably going to have a whole heap of financial leverage. Some truth to that or not?
Not really, because if the person's not motivated, they're sometimes they're out there, well, if I can get this, I'll sell it. And if I don't, then I don't need to sell it. So, so that's, you can get a good deal, you can get a good home, but you can't get both.
Sure.
And in this market with prices, prices are still going up. If for no other reason, just because of inflation, if you don't own a home right now and you want to own a home, you need to figure out a way to buy one, because they're not going down in price.
Yeah.
This is not the typical. I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit. We've been through probably 4 or 5 cycles in my career, and this one's different in that the problem is on the supply side, not the demand side. So, it's not like people aren't buying homes. And if you hear the news, sometimes it's misleading, or oftentimes it's misleading, because they'll say, oh, home sales are down 31%. Yeah, they're down 31% because new listings are down, 31%.
Right.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that want to buy. They just need to figure out a way to do that. And, these interest rates are, they're temporary. People, if they can afford to do it, it's knocked some people out of the market. But if you can afford to buy a house at a 6 or 7% mortgage, and you want to buy a house, do it, because the prices are going up. So that's going to more than offset what extra interest you might be paying. Plus, that interest is tax deductible. So you need to talk to your financial planner or CPA and understand all the ramifications. But I don't see prices coming down anytime soon. There's no, not a fundamental change in the supply happening. They're not going to start building a bunch of new houses in Vermont or anywhere.
No, because those costs are up as well. I mean, the cost to build right now is incredible, the cost of supplies. And they say that that's really not going to move much either. That's where we're at now, is kind of where we're going to stay. We're not going to see huge decreases in supplies costs.
Right, because at the end of the day, everything's going by truck, and fuel costs the way they are. Just not to mention all the just general inflation. So, it used to be, when the market was hot, after it had been hot for 2 or 3 years, you'd start to see people buying land and building, because at some point it became almost a toss-up. That's not happening now.
No.
The price to build is so expensive. I always joke that when you buy a house in Vermont, it's almost like you got the land for free when you compare it to the cost of buying, of building a house.
True. Yeah.
Glenn just dropped a comment that when COVID hit, there was really kind of an exodus up north. People from down country wanted to come up to Vermont and get some fresh air, and go hibernate in the woods and find a house that was secluded in a nice area. Did the real estate market in Vermont really change that much during COVID, and dare I say post-COVID? Do you think?
Oh yeah, it's like nothing we've ever seen. I mean, even it's similar, a little different, but like after 9/11, a lot of people came to Vermont. But back in those days, good luck getting cell coverage or internet. So after 3 or 4 months, they went back to where they came from. But now, it's not as good as it could be, but it's still, we have pretty good internet and cell coverage. People can work from anywhere, and they love the lifestyle. Up here. So, we've definitely, Northern New England was definitely a beneficiary of at least the real estate market of what happened during COVID.
A couple of comments here. One, and I'm going to just going to throw them at you. The not so rich can't afford anything, can't even afford to rent, never mind about buying. Another comment saying, wouldn't mind listing and heading to warmer weather. Issue is selling if it's the right time, not buying. Not so much. And I don't have a camper to wait out to a buyer's market. What do you say about some of these comments?
I mean, the rental issue is real. I mean, we've managed rental properties around here for years, not so much anymore, but the prices now are just, I mean, if you could buy a house and have a mortgage, you'd be in better shape if price wise and payment wise. But it's tough. I mean, we do have an affordability crisis, and I'm not just talking about people that are low income. It's people in the middle part of the market, and we're seeing the people that have some resources, or the parents have resources, are helping their kids buy a home, or even supplementing their rent, or the kids are still living at home in some cases. We don't have enough housing units, both apartments and homes.
I've heard, I don't know if either one of the two of you have heard, but I've heard and seen chatter on social media. Why the hell would I buy with property taxes going up 20%, which hasn't happened yet? But what do you say about that?
Well,
just another cog in the wheel, man.
You're generally not buying a house for the resale value. That's a nice side benefit, but you're buying a place to live, to raise your family, to create memories.
Home.
The taxes are high everywhere, really. I mean, and the person you said they wanted to move south. Some of the taxes in the south are lower. Now if you're moving out of the area, now's a great time to sell, because the market is still hot, but it's not as hot as it used to be in Florida. Tennessee has a lot of new construction. We've seen a number of people move from Vermont to Tennessee.
Hear that, Raylene?
So somebody that's selling and not trying to buy and replace in this area can take advantage of these really unprecedented prices.
Yeah. You were just talking about U.S. mortgage rates. Average rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage dropped a couple of months ago for the first time in 7 consecutive weeks to just under 7%. Where is it now? Do we know?
That's about right. I mean, it depends. I mean, there's still adjustable rate products that you can get into for cheaper if you're betting that rates are going to come down. I mean, the Fed talks about lowering rates, and I wish they wouldn't talk about it so much, because, then there's all this speculation about they're going to do it in May, or they're going to do it in July. And so people kind of sit in their hands, like waiting for that. And the reality is, if you want to buy a house, because it's a good time to buy from an appreciation standpoint. The sooner you can get in, the better.
Yeah.
And, people say, oh, I don't want to pay the taxes. Well, you think you're not paying the landlord's taxes when you're renting? You are. So, high taxes affect everybody, even renters.
Michelle always has just some real interesting insight about this, and just talking about the family dynamic and how it's changing. I mean, it was changing even before COVID, but especially with COVID, that more and more people are having mom and dad move in. I had a very long conversation with a good friend of mine about millennials and baby boomers and everything, and now we've got kids. It's almost like common practice to have for many folks to have across America, having their kids
living in the basement.
30
years old.
At 30 years
living
old.
At home.
Or not necessarily the basement either, but just living, just having a room in the house and just staying together as a family. And, when I was, 20, 21 years old, it was a little different. Dad was like, get the hell out of here. Grow up. But it's different now. It's different, it seems.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing a lot of multi-generational households. A lot of people don't realize it, but the Vermont, they talk about how restrictive Vermont is from permitting and development standpoint. The one rule that's really quite liberal is in-law accessory apartment rules. You can have up to 900 square feet or 30% of the square footage of the home, whichever is greater, be a accessory apartment. And people overlook that. Mm-hmm. That's a state law. It's not even like, you have to get local approval for that.
Yeah.
They have to give it to you. So if you have wastewater and so forth, but again, working with an agent that knows what's going on, understands zoning rules and regulations, knows the properties that maybe don't appear to be a 2-unit or have an accessory apartment, on paper, the agent knows about. There are some good opportunities out there in that regard if you got somebody helping you that knows what they're doing.
What say you, and obviously, Raylene, you just jump in any time, but what say you, John, about workforce housing? We've had conversations about this in the past, right here on the air. Tom Lauzon has been involved in that conversation. What say you about that?
Oh, we desperately need it. I mean, it's the one thing our number one exporter in Vermont is our young, and that's part of the reason is that there's a lot of people that want to live here.
Yeah.
But they either can't find a good job or can't find housing.
When we have teachers that Raylene and I did a big thing on this. I don't know when, but it was.
Well, we had teachers calling us, asking us to say, we moved here, we got a job at where one is at this school, one is at that school, and we are living in a campground or in our car
with kids.
our kids because we got the job, we got here, but we still haven't found a place to live.
And these folks came from, I think, the Seattle area.
That couple, yes.
Yeah. And she says that couple because that's just one example of what we've heard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of places have large apartment complexes. They have a lot more opportunities than we have here in Vermont. That's
right.
So they come here and they don't necessarily, they just expect it's going to be like Seattle or wherever, and and it's not.
What about this? And if we don't want to talk about this, just throw a pen at me or something. But the whole Prospect Heights thing. I mean, do you know anything about this?
Well, I know that Tom Lauzon's involved in it. If Tom's involved in it, it's going to be successful. I mean, you can say what you want about Tom. I know he's been kind of a lightning rod over the years, but Tom's, I would argue, no matter what room he's in, is probably the smartest guy in the room. And if anybody can figure out a way around a challenge or a problem, it's Tom. And so if he's involved in that project, it's going to be a winner. And I don't just mean financially for him. Tom and his wife Karen do so much for this community that behind the scenes they don't get credit for. And Tom grew up here. Tom has done so much single-handedly for this community. People have no idea the people he's helped get started in business and be successful. He comes across sometimes as this hard-charging type A personality, but he's got a heart of gold, and he really has the best interests of the community at heart.
Yeah.
Because Tom he could invest anywhere he wanted to, but he invests here in Barre.
Right, exactly.
It almost sounds like you just said Lauzon for mayor. Did you say that?
Yes, absolutely.
It sounded
absolutely.
I miss Tom being mayor. No dispersions to any current or former mayors, but I remember, again, talking about Tom like taking charge and getting things done during the big dig, right out here actually.
Yeah.
They had the pavement was all gone; it was all dirt, and somebody hit a water main, and the water was just filling up the dirt area right out here, and everybody's kind of shaking their heads. They didn't know what to do. They called Steve McKenzie, the city manager, and Tom got wind of it and came down, and everybody's trying to figure out what to do. And Tom got on a bobcat and broke down the dirt on one end so the water would escape. and that's
there.
And I could tell you 15 stories about Tom, taking action to get things done. And so anyway, I guess I'm biased because I consider him a friend, and I've been, known him for years. I mean, our kids grew up together, and but yeah, if Tom's involved in that project, it's good for Barre.
Folks that ask, what's the difference between BCK Real Estate and William Ravis right here on North Main Street in Barre? What is that?
Well, it's a partnership. So, William Ravis is one of the largest real estate brokerages in the country. And, BCK was Berg, Carmoli, and Kent back in the day in 81 when it started. And, Berg, Carmoli, and Kent were three old line, well-known, Barre families. So basically we have the best of both worlds. We have, the technology and marketing in one of the largest brokerages in the country, combined still, Marcia and I on Main Street, where we know everybody. And
well, you do know everyone. Your local insights, your local experience, your brokerage is a cut above the others. At least we say so. We think so here. I mean, everyone that I've ever spoken with has had nothing but great things to say about their experience with you guys, whether they're buying or they're selling, or whether it's commercial real estate as well. I mean,
thank you.
You're loved, you're respected, and you're appreciated right here in the Granite City and outside of the Granite City too.
It's because we care, JD. Really, I mean, it's if you're just in this business for the commission or the money, you're not going to last very long.
Yeah.
You've got to, at the end of the day, you really got to want to help people through whatever transition in their lives they're going through, because that's what we do. I always say we don't sell homes. We help people through the transitions in their lives, because they're either upsizing because they're having more kids, or they're downsizing because the kids have moved away, or maybe it's been a divorce or a death in the family, and so they've got to do something different, or maybe they're just rewarding themselves because they got a great promotion at work and they're buying a lake house or something like that. That's what we help people through, the transitions in their lives.
Or maybe they're getting the hell out of Connecticut and coming up here and starting a new life up here with a new career. So, yeah, transitions, big time. Michelle always says, I ask her, what do you say to people watching, listening, who are like, I forget it. I can't afford to buy a house, but I'm paying, $3,500 a month for rent. What do we say to those people? What's the better decision?
I mean, they should come talk to somebody like me or Michelle, or somebody that knows the business, because they might think they can't afford to buy a house, but they can, and they just don't.
They don't know yet.
They just don't know, or they don't have the right lender. The lender's really crucial.
That's key
in this market. There's so many different programs, and
first-time buyer.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs with little money down that you can go through and do. Obviously, if you have more money to put down, there's more options. But there are programs, and there are certain lenders that just know how to get things done, and that's again the benefit of having an agent that knows what they're doing. Whether they've been in the business 5 years or 40 years.
Can you throw some love at them? Who give us some examples?
I mean, we work with a lot of lenders, so I hate to, single anybody out. I do like a lot of the local lenders compared to, some of the lenders online, because they don't know the market conditions. When you sat at a closing with a California lender and you're at 9 a.m. in Barre and you can't get a hold of somebody because there's a question or a funding issue, you kind of appreciate the Community Nationals and the Northfield Savings Banks of the world.
Sure. Somebody right here next door.
Sure. We're getting a comment here. North Country Federal Credit Union is awesome.
They're very aggressive. They're a good outfit. I was in banking for years, so I don't always think of the credit unions first, but they really, North Country in particular has been an excellent lender.
Michelle always says also, and so do you, before you start getting worked up about this, or before you become a naysayer or what have you, just take a deep breath. Maybe get pre-approved. That's so important. Begin at the beginning. And once you're pre-approved, walk through the doors at William Ravis and sit down and chat with you guys.
Or even before.
Or maybe even before.
Because we can help you, we can help you find the right lender and tell you what you need to be because you can go online, JD, and you can fill out a form and you can say, oh, my income's $1 million a year and I've got $300,000 to put down, and they'll give you a pre-approval letter for $1.5 million, and you can go out and try and buy a home.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What about this time of year, mud season? You said to me, I think if I'm not mistaken, December-ish, this is the time to get your house listed. Don't wait until the grass in the yard starts greening up. Get it on there now. I think you said February was the hot month, right?
It is, and right now, like I said, there's 10 houses on the market in Berry City and Berrytown. 7 of them been sitting there a while, so effectively you've got about 3 houses on the market right now. This is the time you're going to see the highest price per square foot of the year right now.
Yeah.
The snow we got this morning didn't help.
Right.
A lot of people want to wait till May. Everything's going to be green. It's going to look better, but that's when you're going to have the most competition.
And you have pictures of your house. It's okay. You certainly can. Most people have pictures of their house when it was green and beautiful, and you can add those to any portfolio that you're going to build. And so
it's funny. There's 2 schools of thought on that. A lot of times you'll see, especially on the luxury end, they always want to show a green outdoor picture. Maybe I'm too close to it, but if I have those pictures, I'll put them at the end of the listing because I don't want I don't want to have a new listing come on, put a summer picture on, have people, oh, that must have been on the market for 9 months.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Agreed.
So it's good to have those pictures, but I wouldn't lead with them. You want a seasonably appropriate.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, don't wait for the blossoms on the apple tree to be blooming before you list your house.
That's right, and the buyers are out there. And there's only so many people are going to buy a house every year. So the longer you wait, the fewer buyers are going to be there.
Yeah. Speak to the low income and middle class families. We're getting a comment here this morning. What can we do? What can we do for these Vermonters who maybe would love so much to get out of a rental situation? What can we do for them?
There's got to be some will on behalf of the public officials to want to do things. This is not something the private sector is going to solve on their own.
Yeah.
Because the infrastructure costs are so high. To build a street and put in water lines and power and everything, developers got to front that money. And at the end of the day, the return's got to be there. If they're going to do that, they're not necessarily going to do it in Vermont. They're going to do it someplace that's more populated where they could sell the homes faster. So, I'm all for capitalism and the free market, but we need some help from the legislature and from local officials to figure out a way to make those infrastructure costs more palatable. And looking, long term at the increase in the tax revenue, maybe not in the beginning, because if they have to subsidize to get the infrastructure built, but down the road, it's going to be there in spades. Yeah. And, unfortunately, a lot of people have a short-term view. I always am amazed that Vermont, the state officials are elected every 2 years. That's crazy. It's like you get elected and then you're running again for re-election. So, they should have some longer terms, believe it or not. I think that, and so they can get some things done and not be worrying about running for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Deering is speaking out this morning, posting some comments saying there needs to be tax breaks to the startup with huge costs to building. Also says public policy has to change to help this. And Barb Druge has a great point that I love. You got to be willing to help yourself. If this is something that you're even remotely thinking about, take some initiative, be brave, walk into William Ravis and say, hey, here's what I'm paying per month. This is my debt-to-income ratio. Can you point me in the direction of a lender that may or may not pre-approve me? And if not,
they're going to tell you what you need to do to get to that point.
Yeah, the best loan officers, some of them, are again, they're farsighted, so they'll figure out this is what you need to do to improve your credit, and if you do that in 6 months or a year,
right,
you'll be eligible to buy a home.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, so people do need to help themselves, but they just got to be pointed in the right direction.
What is buyer representation at William Ravis, and why is it so important?
So right now, a lot of buyers don't know what they don't know, so they're so challenged trying to get a house that they're going to go straight to the listing agent and try and think they have the inside track that way, but they don't know the pitfalls of buying or selling a home. So the listing agent doesn't represent the buyer. He represents the seller.
The listing agent doesn't represent the buyer. Got it.
So, in Vermont, we have what's called designated agency. A lot of the smaller firms can't do it because they don't have enough agents, but you can have two agents from the same company, one representing the buyer and one representing the seller, which is a big change from the way it used to be. The purpose of that, of starting designated agency in Vermont, was so that everybody could be represented or would be represented. Ironically, now they're talking about changing that, which is, I think, a big mistake. But people are better off having somebody knowledgeable represent them.
What's the deal with commission? What's the story with that?
It's negotiable. There's been a lot of stories in the news about and quite inaccurate stories, about commissions and sellers paying the buyer's agent, which is typically when the sellers listed their home, they listed a certain commission, and some goes to the listing agent and some goes to the buyer agent. There's a lot of thinking right now that the buyers should pay their own commission, the seller shouldn't pay it. But at the end of the day, the seller's paying it one way or another, because if you're buying let's just say for the ease of math, you're buying a $500,000 home, and you want to put in an offer, but you have to pay your realtor fees. You're not going to offer $500,000. You're going to offer $485,000 to give yourself the room to pay your brokerage fees.
Yeah.
So
wow. The
seller's paying it one way or another. It's just a question of now everything's kind of in flux, and some agents are offering zero. They're not paying the buyer agent anything, so they want the buyer to pay their own agent directly.
Is this what earnest money is?
No, earnest money is the deposit that you put down to show a good faith that you're going to move forward. You have some skin in the game, basically.
All right. Wow. What's the difference between assessment and appraisal?
I mean, the assessed value is what the municipality values the property at for tax purposes. Okay. It's really irrelevant, other than it really just weights all the properties. It doesn't really matter if the assessment's right on, as long as they're consistent. Your assessment could be $200,000 lower than it should be, but as long as everybody is proportionally lower, it's going to come out the same, because at the end of the day, the municipality needs so much money, and the assessments are how they weight who pays what.
Yeah.
So an appraisal is, a whole other story, because that's based on comparable sales and what's happening in the market. And, it's not just, price per square foot and, depreciation and all that.
Yeah. I hear Vermonters say, God, man, I'm having such a hard time getting by right now, buying or renting. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
How can I afford a down payment right now? I mean, cost of food, gas, groceries, insurance. Car insurance is up 20-something% now. I mean, inflation is huge. How do you swing a down payment on a home?
I mean, it's not easy, but lots of people do it. And, we're in an age of instant gratification and wanting what we want when we want it. And, sometimes you have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You have to decide, do I want to have Hulu TV, or do I want to take that $85 a month and put it toward buying a house?
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
Do I want to use DoorDash, or can I, go to Hannaford and buy some stuff and make my dinner and save some money that way?
Sure.
So it's all about
one car instead
all
of
about
two.
choices.
There's all
Yeah.
kinds
I mean,
of
it's-
different
it's-
things.
It's not, but it's not easy, and it's certainly getting harder, not easier. But where there's a will, there's a way, and a lot of people can figure it out. Other people, again, if you're fortunate enough to have parents or relatives with some resources, they can gift you a down payment. The lenders allow that.
Sure.
So, at the end of the day, it comes down to being creative a lot of times.
And being brave enough to ask the questions
Yeah.
too. Literally sit down with somebody and say, this is my situation and this is where I'm at. This is what I would like to do. What do you suggest? And whether it be with you or a lender, those are the people you need to be brave enough to actually have that conversation with.
Yeah.
You can't just always assume I can't do this, because
Exactly.
there may be a path forward that you just haven't thought of yet. Is something as simple as no Hulu, or something as simple as that could actually push you in a whole new direction in a very short time.
Yeah.
No, that's right. And also, some people think they'll just figure it out, so they want to go out and look at homes. The ideal buyer for us is frankly somebody that wants to come in the office and talk about it, and not just, this new listing came on, will you show me this house? Because
Right.
they may or may not be qualified
Right,
to
to
buy
do
it. Their
such a
intentions
thing.
are good, but
Sure.
they may not know.
You guys have speaking of listings, you got a beautiful one on Merchant Street right now in Berry City. Boy, you could get a few people in there, couldn't you?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful house. And then the one on Spruce Lane in Berrytown is beautiful too.
That's a great neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah. I
Nice
like that.
big yard. God, gorgeous. Really, really nice. And those are just two of about 10 between Berry City and Berrytown. Is this the smallest number of listings between those two towns, between Berry City and Berrytown, that you can ever remember?
No, we had 7, I think, in December. I mean, it used to be, I remember like in the early 2000s, when in 2002, the market started getting really hot, and, until it crashed at the end of 2007. But in those days, we would have 5 or 6 homes in every town in every price range.
Yeah.
Now it's like if you have 5 or 6 homes total in a town, that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. If you missed it, John Bionalillo having some in-depth conversation with us this morning, not just about the market in general here in Vermont, but what's happening. And you guys have your eyes wide open to what's happening, and you're watching things carefully. You mentioned earlier that there's a lot of outside agencies that are coming in, and there's some greed involved, and there's a lot of misconceptions that are coming out of that. Stay local, man. Stay local. Walk right into William Ravis and speak with people face to face that live right here, work right here. They know everything about the local Central Vermont community.
Amen to that, JD. I mean, again, it sounds risk of sounding self-serving. What we see is a lot of buyers coming down here from Chittenden County. They get priced out of that market. They're working with a great agent up in Chittenden County. They come down here. A lot of times they're overpaying because their agent's used to the Chittenden County prices.
Yep.
So, and that's not to say an agent who doesn't live here can't know the market well. They probably can if they put their mind to it. But, we live here. We've lived here for years. We work here. We know the community. Yeah. We know its pluses and minuses. We know the areas that are in the flood zone and the ones that aren't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the bottom line is whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, William Ravis knows how to respond differently to each. And they're going to steer you in the right direction. And they're going to be honest with you. If you're thinking about a single home, a multifamily, a commercial property, even a renter, even a rental property. You guys are the go-to agency right here in Central Vermont to speak with. And I think, as we said, just to kind of re-echo here, too many of us are, I think, scared or apprehensive to make a change because of what we're hearing coming down the national pipeline.
Don't ever assume. That's what I always say.
Exactly. Well, at the end of the day, real estate's local, right? You hear that's a cliche, right, but it's true. Mm-hmm. And, when you just hear the headline or just read the first few sentences of the article, you don't really know anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And, it's like I said before, when they say, home sales are down, 31% or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
fear.
That's not necessarily mean the market's bad.
Sure. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Michelle says it all the time. She's like, yeah, that may be, the 40,000 or higher snapshot, foot snapshot, but right here in Central Vermont, things can be quite different from that. Don't panic. If knowledge is power, you guys have both, and we just love that about you. Visit the professionals over at William Ravis, BCK Real Estate. Are we rebranding those two to be more of a married couple? Now more than ever, we think it's important to stress our local roots, and a lot of people knew BCK Real Estate for years, and we don't want people to think that we've gotten away from that. Right. And you don't want people walking in the door saying, do I go to the left for BCK or do I go to the right for William Ravis? You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything you do, man. It's like you and Michelle have, frankly, dumbed things down quite a bit for this old feller here for me to understand. And I think that's what we need, man. We need simple talk about stuff that can be a little intimidating, in some cases very intimidating and complex, but we need simple talk about it, and that's what you guys do best. Simple is brilliant. That's what Einstein said, right? That's right. So. Anything to close out with, Raylene?
Well, a couple of things. Let's just remind people that the Wednesday take-home meal from Delicate Decadence this week is cilantro lime chicken with Spanish rice.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow, Wednesday take-home meal. 802-479-7948 is how you order that up. Or you can go right to their Facebook page or their website, which is delicatedecadence.com.
All right.
Yeah.
When's the Connect 4 tournament again?
Connect 4 is tonight over at Jerry's. The doors open at 3. Connect 4. The tournament starts 6:30. So you can go on over there.
If you don't have a ladder, one will be assigned to you, or what?
Well, only JD needs a ladder. You'd be all right. John. You could do it.
I don't know about Connect 4, but I'd certainly go there for the wings. I like the wings they have there.
Yeah, I mean it's a great place. We love Jerry's, and it's so cozy in there too.
Yeah.
It really
Nice
is.
place.
So you should get out. And you know that the pie breakfast is coming up this weekend.
This weekend's can be busy.
Prepare for that.
Yep.
Berlin Fire Department. It's a great event.
All you can eat.
All you can
Wait,
eat.
it's pie for
Pies
breakfast?
of any kind.
There's quiches.
Wow.
It could be shepherd's pie. It could be pumpkin pie. You never know. Pies of any kind. All you
Maple.
can eat. Maple cream pie. Yes.
Ooh, that sounds
$12 for adults, $6 for children, 10 and under. All proceeds, they benefit the volunteer fire department,
Sure.
which is super important. So you want to make sure. And tonight, please, please, please come to council.
Yeah.
As it was said a couple of weeks ago by somebody, I'm not going to mention any names because I'm behaving myself today. It was mentioned that the old dog was standing in the way. Well, the old dog has spoken and said, "Move over, here I come." See you tonight, 6 o'clock, City Council.
Was that well said or what, John? Come on.
I totally agree.
Yeah. The Hop into Spring Craft Fair is at the Berlin Elementary School on Saturday from 10 to 4. The U32 Craft Fair is Saturday from 9 to 3. Free admission. Get yourself out of the house.
Oh, there's
this
so much
weekend.
stuff going on. There's just a ton.
Don't be like, well, it's mud season. I'm going to stay in. It's still cold. Get out. Go have some fun. Do stuff in your community.
Yeah.
John, you know you're welcome in here anytime. You come in here, call us, email us, whatever. Get in here. You got anything you want to talk about with regard to anything going on in Barrie, real estate or otherwise?
It's always a pleasure. We love Barry.
That's
so
your
thank
microphone. That's your microphone. And thank you for those snazzy chairs.
Happy to help.
They came from him.
Yes,
I mean, I absolutely love them.
we do.
They're fantastic. Thank you, buddy, so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. And big kudos again to your whole team over at William Ravis, BCK Real Estate. Thanks for sponsoring us. We're going to be talking about you all the time. We
Our
love
pleasure.
it. Thanks, buddy. Be good. Talk to you soon.